Hey there, this is Bruce Van Horn, and I want to take just a couple minutes of your time to tell you about an amazing new service that I've discovered. I have just finished my 2-week free trial period with SocialQuant, and it has solved a major pain point for me as far as Twitter growth is concerned. So I want to take just a couple minutes to tell you what SocialQuant does, tell you about my experience with it and why it is going to be so helpful for me moving forward. So if you don't know much about me already, I'm an international best-selling author. I am the host of the Life is a Marathon podcast, which is a personal development podcast that is in the top 5% of all podcasts on the market right now, which is just amazing. I have listeners from over 200 countries around the world. I'm also a motivational speaker and teacher and a life and business coach. Now, what's really cool about the success that I have achieved in the last several years is that much of that has been because of my ability to grow and engage a real audience, a real follower base, not just of people who follow me, but people who have become fans. They've become ambassadors and even evangelists for my brand, for what it is that I do. So I do indeed have a substantial Twitter following of over 430,000 followers. I am consistently ranked in the top 2% most retweeted people on Twitter every single day. I either get retweeted or mentioned somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 times a day, which puts me in the top 2%. I'm included in over 5,200 Twitter lists, and if you don't know what Twitter lists are, is people create lists of other Twitter accounts they want to follow so that they don't miss those tweets. And so over 5,200 other Twitter users have included me in their who to follow or don't miss these tweets list. I'm also included in some major who to follow lists. In fact, Adweek magazine listed me in the top 50 of their people to follow and the most retweeted by mid-size marketing companies, which was a huge honor. So my tweets get over 30 million impressions per quarter. Now, if you're a business owner who purchases advertising, you know how much it costs for impressions, advertising impressions. And so to be able to get 30 million impressions per quarter for free over Twitter is a huge benefit to not only my business, but can be for your business too. So here's just a screenshot of my Twitter profile page, verifying the fact that I have at this point 435,000 followers. And so you can see down here in the lower right-hand corner that on average, or in the last 24 hours, my tweets had 301,000 impressions in the last 24 hours. And that's actually a low number because I'm recording this on a Sunday. And so that is all of Saturday into Sunday. And those are the low Twitter traffic days. So normally that's somewhere up in the 350 to 375,000 impressions per day mode. So here's just a screenshot from Twitter Analytics. Everybody who is on Twitter has access to their own analytics, so you can see what's going on with your tweets. So I ran a report just for the first quarter of 2016, and you can see that my tweets earned 34.1 million impressions over a 91-day period, which is 374.8 thousand impressions per day. Again, if you're buying advertising, how much money are you spending for that number, that level of exposure of your brand to a potential audience? Anyway, I share this with you because I haven't always had an amazing Twitter following. Like everybody else, I created my Twitter account just like you. And when I created my Twitter account, I had 0 followers. So in fact, I started with Twitter in July of 2009, and I really didn't do too much with it. I sent a couple tweets here or there. I just didn't really understand the power of Twitter back then. However, in June of 2012, I knew that I was going to be taking my career in a completely different direction. I knew that I was going to be writing books and that I was going to, at some point, start a podcast and that I would be a teacher and speaker. And so I knew the value of building an audience. So in June of 2012, I had 17 followers. I started using Twitter more specifically, more intentionally, and in July, I had grown to a whopping 126 followers. However, that's where I really started to think more about it, and I started to get more serious about growing my Twitter following base. And so in August of 2012, I jumped from 126 to 2,586 followers. Now, that's a pretty big jump. It was during the month of August, however, that I discovered, just by experimenting, what really worked, how I could grow my Twitter audience in a very, very powerful way. And I started doing that during the month of August. So come September 1st, I had grown to 10,300 followers. That's a pretty substantial growth for just 1 month. So let me basically tell you what I did in short and what I continue to do and have continued to do up until this point, until I found SocialQuant. That's ultimately where I'm going to go. What I discovered was that I identified on Twitter those people who were in the similar market as I was. So I identified successful writers. I identified successful motivational speakers and teachers. So the Jack Canfields, the Tony Robbins, the Brian Tracys of the world, the Dr. Steve Maraboli. And I started trying to figure out what were they doing on Twitter that was enabling them to grow such a large audience and to engage with that audience. So I started following those accounts. And so that's the main thing that I did, was I started specifically following the people who I ultimately wanted to be like. Okay? And then what I did was I figured out that, let's say, if you like Jack Canfield and you follow Jack Canfield, if I follow you, that might get your attention and you might see some of my tweets, and therefore you might follow me back. And if I'm retweeting Jack Canfield and Brian Tracy and all of these people, then you might see that as well. So I started following the people who followed the accounts that I wanted to be like. And I found that to be very, very successful. Okay. Also, I didn't follow back everybody who followed me. So if there's an account out there that followed me and I look at their profile and they are just not anywhere even related to what it is that I do, or if their content matter is not something that resonates with me, I did not follow them back. But all of this was a manual process. So let me just tell you what I have done for all these years every single day to grow my Twitter following. So let's just use Steve Maraboli as an example. I would go to Steve's account on Twitter, and first of all, I followed him. Now, Steve did not follow me back right away. What it took was me retweeting Steve and me engaging with him. So when he would send out a tweet, I would either retweet it or I would comment in a favorable way. I'd say, Steve, thank you so much for this. It really meant a lot to me, or it was exactly what I needed to see today. I really appreciate your work. And then he would start replying back saying, hey, I really thank you. So I engaged him. And because of that level of engagement, it caused him to see what I was doing, because I was also putting out content that was motivational in nature, that was a representation of my brand and what it is that I do. And it caused Steve to follow me back. And so that's how I created a relationship with Steve. But then what I do is I would look at who is following Steve. And the beauty of Twitter is that you can click on that little followers icon. So it says followers. He has 222,000 followers. and it shows the most recent people who have followed him. So I'd go to his page every single day, and I'd look at who are his new followers, and then I would just make a decision. Do I want to follow that person back or not? But I would start systematically following those people who followed Steve, who at least had a reasonable Twitter account. They at least had a profile and a background image and some text that said what they did. But so I started following Steve. So here, this is just an example of me scrolling down through the page. And so there are going to be some people who already follow me, but I don't necessarily follow them back, like the one right up top in the middle. I'm assuming that's German, so I don't speak German. So there's not a lot of point in me following that person back because I wouldn't understand most of their tweets. So anyway, this is the process that I followed. I would go to those accounts that I identified as similar in nature to mine, or I wanted to attract into my flock the people that they had in their flock. Okay. So then what I would also do is I would go to my followers and I would just look through the people who followed me recently. And then I would make a decision based on their profile whether or not I would follow them back. And so again, you can see that there are some people who have, a decent background image. They have a profile saying exactly what they do. And so this mobile car repair company, they are a business. I tweet about leadership and business very often. And so I'm going to follow them back. Who knows? Maybe they might hire me to come in as a consultant for their company someday. So I follow this person back. So Carrie Jenig, that's a reasonable background about what it is that she does. She's got a photo of herself, and so she's a award-winning social media marketer and leader. So I'm going to follow her because she's the kind of person that I want in my flock. Now, as you can see, there's a couple other on here that I'm not going to follow them back because that's just not the kind of account that I want to follow. Now, I don't have any problem with somebody following me, but it doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to follow that person back. So that's the process by which I would do every single day. So let me give you a real quick tip that is going to help you gain followers right away. Upload a profile photo, upload a background photo, and give everyone a clear message about you. Don't be an egghead. So on the previous slide, you saw there was an account or two that had not uploaded anything. So when you don't upload a profile photo of you or your company, Twitter puts an egg there. So don't be an egghead. Upload a photograph of you or your company logo. Upload a background image so that somebody can look at that and get an immediate impression about what it is that you do and why you're on Twitter and why should I consider taking another 2 seconds to read your profile text. So be sure that you put in clear, concise text in your profile, okay? Also, you might want to pin a tweet that you want everyone to see that best represents your brand so that when people go to your Twitter page, they don't just see your most recent tweet. Everyone who goes there will see the very same tweet. Twitter gives you the ability to pin a tweet. And so here's an example for mine. I have a background photo. I have a photograph of me. I have some profile text, restoring passion, purpose, and vision for your life, leadership, and business. And I also have a pinned tweet that is about a course that I teach about how to become a Twitter genius. And so everybody who comes to my profile, they see the same text. They see the same, actually the video. If you've got a video of yourself, that's really cool because people are not just going to see this pinned tweet, but they have the opportunity now to see a video of me speaking. So that's another way that they can get a feel for who and what is Bruce all about. So there's your quick Twitter tip. Needless to say, here's my pain point. This takes hours. Now, it was important to me because I knew that I was building my tribe. I was specifically growing my audience, and I knew that that audience would someday turn into customers. It would turn into referrals. So it was very, very important for me growing my business to grow my Twitter following. But yes, I spent several hours a day for the last several years doing this. Okay. Now, I did find a few online tools that helped me streamline the follow and unfollow process, but it was still me doing it every single day, following people, unfollowing people, following and unfollowing. Okay. So it helped. Those tools did help cut the time dramatically, but it was still a manual process. Then I discovered SocialQuant and the service. So I was intrigued by it. I was wondering, could this be real? And so I checked it out. A friend of mine said, Bruce, you ought to check out SocialQuant. And so I jumped over to the SocialQuant website. I saw an attractive lady with a video. So their website was immediately pleasing to me. It didn't drive me away. I immediately saw an endorsement from Kim Garst, and Kim Garst is huge in the social media space. I follow Kim. I follow the followers of Kim, and Kim likewise follows me back. So an endorsement from Kim Garst was a huge bonus for me to at least start my free trial. And so what do? Right there, it says increase your followers, engagements, and leads today. And so that's what I did. I was certainly impressed by the fact that they connect over 10 million people on Twitter. So I tried it out. Now here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to walk you through what the SocialQuant service does for you. So I went over to the FAQ page, first of all, and I read this FAQ about how they work. And they describe exactly what I was doing. They increase the size and quality of your Twitter account. They do it by following people that are a match for what it is that you want to be doing. And so I really, really liked the description of their work. And so I love the last line that says, so lean back and enjoy SocialQuant as we handle your Twitter growth for you. And so this idea of basically hiring a social media management company to do this for me was very, very attractive. So I figured I'll start a free trial and see what happens. Now, when you log into your free trial, basically all you're going to do is give them a list of keywords that are important, that are relevant to what it is that you do and the type of audience that you want to grow in Twitter. And these can be keywords. They can also be other Twitter accounts. So for me, Alphabet Success, that's an account I follow. Bruce VH, I follow people. I want to follow people who are already mentioning me in tweets. And so there are other keywords that are there: author, bestseller, branding, business coach, entrepreneur, executive. So you are going to plug, when you first start, your list of keywords is going to be blank, and you're just going to start adding them. You can change your keywords at any point. So load in a couple keywords. They recommend that you don't use more than 50 keywords. So I think I'm using around 35 to just under 40 keywords. And at any point, if you don't see a keyword performing, which is really cool. So I jumped ahead for just a second. You can modify this. So they also recommend some keywords based on your account. They have a quick look at your Twitter account, and just based on tweets that you have sent out, based on the information that's in your profile, they recommend some keywords. You can use them. You can choose to ignore them. So let's look at the real data. Where was I when I started SocialQuant, my free trial, and where am I when I finished? So I started my free trial period on Saturday, July 9th. And when I started, I had 432,850 followers. So that was my benchmark. And then what I did was I really wanted to put SocialQuant to the test and to not be confused about, well, what part of the growth was because of them and what part of the growth was because of me. So I completely stopped what I was doing as far as following and unfollowing. I basically took a 2-week vacation from that process. Now, I still stayed on Twitter and I still replied to people and I still commented and I still retweeted. So I was still using Twitter to engage with my audience. But all of the process that I was doing manually to grow my following, I took a vacation from that because I really wanted to put SocialQuant to the test. I highly recommend you do the same thing. So the proof is amazing. Look at the growth over the 2-week period. So starting on July 9th, 432,850 to Saturday, July 23rd, 434,843. So just under 2,000 brand new followers in that 2-week period. That was right on target with what I was getting manually, probably just a little bit higher than what I was doing manually. But I didn't do anything in that 2-week period. So it was really cool to see the performance. So again, back at the beginning, 432, 2 weeks later, 434,000 followers. So a growth of just under 2,000. Not only this, they tell me what keywords are performing really, really well. So you see your best keywords in the last 7 days and your best keywords of all time. So obviously the keywords of all time, the longer you stay with the SocialQuant service, that's going to become more meaningful. So I thought it was very, very cool that the keyword author is very important to what I do. So I garnered 93 brand new followers over a 2-week period based on the keyword author. Entrepreneur, very high. Branding, I speak a lot about corporate branding and personal branding and leadership. I also do a lot of work with realtors. So it was really cool to see how their tool took the keywords that I was using, their services, their staff. They were out there listening to conversations. That's basically what SocialQuant does. They are out there listening to all of the tweets that are happening on Twitter, and they're trying to match up those conversations with the keywords. And so if somebody sends a tweet out about author and they mention the word author in their tweet, the SocialQuant service, they go and look at that particular account, and then they analyze all of their other tweets and decide, is this person who talks about authors, do they talk about authors frequently? And so they have their algorithms that they use to determine whether or not to follow that person. So just because somebody tweets about author or entrepreneur once doesn't mean that the SocialQuant service or team is going to follow that user. So it was really, really cool. And so you can see what keywords are not performing well. So I'm not getting a lot of followers off of the account Leadership Freak or off of the phrase lead from within. And so I may at some point make a decision to remove that keyword so that the SocialQuant team can focus on just those keywords that are performing well. Because Twitter has a limit on the number of people that you can follow or unfollow on any given day. And they really try to maximize that and follow up to the maximum amount of people that Twitter allows. But they want to do that based on meaningful keywords. And so if you've got a bunch of keywords in there that aren't performing well, I've learned that it's best to remove those and just focus on the keywords that are working well, because that's the audience that you want to attract to you, because those are the people who will resonate with your product, service, or message and will become the ambassadors that you really, really want. Again, I said at the beginning, you don't want just followers. You want fans, you want ambassadors and evangelists who are going to be out there retweeting what you do, or clicking on your profile and going to your website and saying, Bruce, how can I learn more about you? Can I work with you? Can we hire you to come in as a consultant for what you're doing? Okay, so let me summarize the SocialQuant process. For me, it was literally a set it and forget it. I absolutely loved that they lived up to that phrase in the fact that, or in the FAQ that said, just lean back and let the SocialQuant team handle your Twitter growth for you. And that's exactly what they did. So they connect you with relevant, engaging Twitter followers who are like-minded. Again, you don't want just everybody following you, and you don't want to be following just everybody. So it's specific to your keywords. You have total control over that to grow the type of audience that you want. The amount of time, or the value of the time that it saved me just in the last 2 weeks, was phenomenal. I have a limited number of hours in the day that I specifically devote to Twitter. And because I was not using that time to grow my Twitter base, I used all of that time to engage even more with my audience. So I found myself replying to a lot more tweets. People were asking me questions or making comments. And where I previously didn't have a chance to get back to all of them, I used that time in a much more valuable, engaging way. My audience absolutely loved it. So 2 thumbs up. If I had that third arm coming out of my chest so that I had 3 thumbs, I would give SocialQuant a 3 thumbs up rating. I'm absolutely loving it. I have indeed converted my 14-day free trial into a paid membership. I will continue to use SocialQuant as basically my go-to method of growing my Twitter following. So again, highly, highly recommend that you at least give it a shot. Over 14 days, let them handle your Twitter growth for you, and then you make a decision whether or not it's worth it to you. For me, it was a brilliant business decision, and the amount of time that they have saved me is well worth the fee, which is extremely reasonable. You cannot hire a social media department or a social media manager to do what SocialQuant does for the little monthly fee that they charge. So go get your free trial. I created a super short link for you, brucevanhorn.com/SocialQuant. Sign up today. I really think you're going to love it. Okay, so if you want to learn more about how I grow my Twitter base, I'm teaching a course called How to Become a Twitter Genius, where I'm teaching people all over the world to do exactly what I do. So this course is everything that you need to know about Twitter, but you don't have the time to figure out on your own. You're talking to somebody who has 4 years of trial and error. I learned the hard way what works and what doesn't work. And this is how I've grown my audience to 435,000. And while there are indeed many people out there on Twitter who have more followers than I do, there are very, very few who have the type of engagement and basically the love that I get from my Twitter family is amazing. I have established very, very real personal and professional relationships on Twitter. Dr. Steve Marabali is a close personal friend of mine now. When I got cancer 2 years ago, he called me on his cell phone and said, Bruce, if there is anything that you need, you just call me. And that was just somebody I found on Twitter. And so we've created real relationships. Again, it has helped me launch best-selling books. It has helped me launch and promote my podcast, which has spread throughout the world. And it brings me very valuable business contacts for the coaching and speaking that I do. This is what I'm going to teach you how to do. So we're going to cover Twitter basics that most people are just completely overlooking. There are so many just little simple things that if you do the simple things right on Twitter, it will dramatically change the response rate to your tweets. So I'm going to cover Twitter basics, I cover best practices, and I'm just going to give you advice from the trenches of what I've learned in Twitter. I am indeed going to teach you how to grow your audience of fans and ambassadors. I talk a little bit more in detail about SocialQuant and some other tools that I use. SocialQuant really is a service, not so much a tool. But you are going to glean from my years of experience the things that I've used, the things that I've done to grow my audience. And then content is king. So we will spend a lot of time talking about how to figure out what is the right thing to tweet that is going to resonate with your audience, that is going to get them to want to engage more and more with you. So this is ultimately what we want. We want to engage, to create customers and friends. It's about creating relationships. So the course, Become a Twitter Genius, is 5 video lessons. Each video lesson has an online discussion forum underneath it. I'm in there every day answering your questions, responding to your comments. I'm posting articles inside each video. When Twitter makes updates, I'll provide links to those updates so you can see all of those in the discussion. Each video is going to be delivered to you weekly. You'll get an email every single Friday telling you or giving you the link to the next video. I don't give you all 5 lessons right away because this isn't a go through the class as soon as you or fast as you possibly can type of class. I want you to work on each specific lesson. They all build on each other. So each video has homework, and I want you to spend a full week doing the type of homework because you will get in proportion back from this course that which you put into the practice of what I teach. Okay. So because you have taken the time and been gracious enough to give me your time to watch this video and to hear me talk about SocialQuant, I am going to give you a 50% discount off of the regular price of $387. So for $193.50, you get all 5 video lessons. They are always going to be online for you to go back to as often as you want. So that's a one-time fee. So trust me, there have been businesses who brought me in to teach their social media departments what it is that I do, and they paid me tons more than $193.50. So learn from my experience, and you will absolutely grow to the level that you want and get the engagement that you want. So all you have to do to get this 50% discount for having watched the SocialQuant promo video, just go to brucevanhorn.com/Twitter-genius-SQ. The link is directly below this video. So just click it, sign up today, and learn how to become a Twitter genius. Thanks for your time.